Well, the Browns had a hard time stopping the number 2 rushing DVOA offense. And this week, the team that doubles them in DVOA rankings and ranks above them and is historic in their ability to run the ball, the Baltimore Ravens are coming to town. This looks like the absolute worst timing for this matchup to happen for the Cleveland Browns. But as always, we'll look into this and see what's going to happen this weekend when the Browns face off against the Baltimore Ravens. All right, we're going to do this like we always do, and we're going to start with some of the key storylines heading into this game. And the main one that we're going to want to talk about is, will this Browns defense do anything against the run when it comes to Baltimore? I am afraid of what that answer is. I am not confident in what that answer is. It is not sure that we're going to even have Olivier Vernon. And it looks like we're not even going to have Sheldon Richardson, which is going to leave Larry Ogunjobi as the lone starter on a defensive line that has been pushed around to historic levels since the loss of Myles Garrett. It was awful, god awful in Pittsburgh. It was really bad in Cincinnati, and it was just flat pathetic in Arizona last week. And the thing to note with all three of those teams is that there was a caveat or something going on with the offensive line of all three teams. Pittsburgh was without their starting center, Marquise Pouncey. The Cincinnati Bengals had one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL at that point, especially when it came to run blocking. And the Arizona Cardinals were missing a starting offensive lineman and stink at offensive line. So 3 bad performances against 3 awful offensive lines does not point to success this week when it comes to stopping the run against the league's best running team and possibly the best running team of this entire decade. So if I'm the Cleveland Browns, I'm just going to be honest, and I got to keep it real with the people who watch this show for both teams. If you're the Browns, your best hope is to just not worry about the run. Let it happen. It's going to happen. You have no way to stop it. And just try to limit the bleeding when it comes to the passes that Baltimore is able to get, and hope that with their run production, they're going to probably score, and hope that your offense can keep up, and maybe you make them tired, or maybe they turn the ball over, fumble the ball, and give you extra opportunities. But thinking that we're going to stop the hottest offense, the hottest rushing offense in the NFL with a defensive line that has played some of the worst football of the decade is just kind of far-fetched in my opinion. So hopefully the Browns take a different strategy to defensively trying to stop the Ravens this week than what they've been doing, because it has not worked and it will not work. The second question heading into this game is, which Browns team is going to show up? Are we going to get a Browns team that's motivated? Are we going to get a Browns team that looks like they care about winning or losing this game? Or are we going to get the disinterested, flat cola, bad attitude, terrible Browns that we got to show up in Arizona? And, you know, it's not just been Arizona. The Browns really came flat against Cincinnati. It's just a game they won. They came out good against Pittsburgh, but in the second half of that game, nobody made plays, and they played pretty flat. So I would say since the second half in Pittsburgh, this team has been playing flat. Again, it's going to be a tough challenge for this team to come out and play better against one of the better teams in the NFL when they just haven't been able to do that against some of the worst teams in the NFL. Again, this team has not come out ready to play since the beginning of the Pittsburgh game where they took that double-digit lead. Since then, this team has looked lost since they lost that lead. The next question heading into this game is, how often will the Ravens run Lamar Jackson? This is a legitimate question. The Ravens don't have a ton to lose here by losing this game. Sure, theoretically, if the Ravens lose their next 2 and the Patriots win their next 2, they will lose complete home field, as opposed to being the 2 seed. So the Ravens would lose the 1 seed if that were to happen, but that's not very likely to happen. I don't think that there's a way that Baltimore loses to both Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Um, I don't really think it's likely they lose to either team. But with Lamar Jackson obviously being a quarterback, with them wanting to limit how many times he gets hit against two division opponents in a row, it's going to be interesting to see how often they run him in games where, they need it for certain positioning in the playoffs, but they don't need it to be in the playoffs or to even have a bye in the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see if they go all out like they have been doing with the running of Lamar Jackson, if he's going to get those 9 to 15 carries, or are you going to see a slowdown in the amount of times they run Lamar in order to preserve him and use more Gus Edwards in order to supplement that. That is going to be interesting to see on the Baltimore side. And the last storyline heading into this game is, can the Browns keep up with Baltimore? The one thing that goes to the Browns' advantage is that they will be able to do more of their playbook, just because I don't think Baltimore has a great edge rush. They have a good edge rush, but it's not a great edge rush. And when the Browns are in a situation where they don't have a great edge rush going against them, they are able to do more on offense and able to look more competent. Maybe running the ball might be more of an option here for the Browns, but with Michael Pierce being back, I don't see Nick Chubb having the same huge day that he had against the Ravens in week 4. So it might be an opportunity for Baker Mayfield to make something happen and kind of take advantage of a Ravens secondary that's not bad. They certainly aren't bad. They are good, but they do have some risk takers in that secondary, in Earl Thomas and in Marcus Peters. And you can get those guys kind of on the off day or on a game like this, making a lot of bad choices. So that will be interesting to see if Baker Mayfield can take advantage. He does have a great history against the Ravens. For whatever reason in his young career, he's had some of his best games against the Baltimore Ravens, some of his most touchdowns in a game against the Baltimore Ravens. So maybe that tradition continues, but those are the storylines heading into the game. Let's talk about some of the inactives. All right, so some of the inactives or potential inactives. Sheldon Richardson has not practiced 2 out of the 3 days so far. Olivier Vernon has been limited and has not played in the last 2 weeks, and J.C. Treader has also not practiced. These are very concerning injuries because these are injuries in the place you can afford to have them the least, defensive line and offensive line. I do expect J.C. Treader to play, as he didn't practice all last week, and he did play last week. Olivier Vernon, I don't expect him to play. And, Sheldon Richardson, boy, if he doesn't play, then you are really left with a lot of undrafted dudes on the defensive line that has not been performing, and a defensive line that has not been able to manufacture penetration, let alone a pass rush in the last 3 weeks. So that is a bad deal. And what makes it even worse is the Baltimore Ravens are walking into this game completely healthy. They don't have a single player that does not look like they're going to play of consequence. And, everybody who's going to be inactive is going to be inactive by choice for the Baltimore Ravens. Unlike the game in week 4, this team is healthy. They're playing at full strength. They've won 9 in a row. I think they could make it 10 in a row in Cleveland, or they're already won 10 in a row. So this is, again, not a very opportune time for the Cleveland Browns to face the Baltimore Ravens here, as it looks like the things are lining up in the exact wrong direction for the Browns here. All right, so we're going to talk about some of the biggest problems / weaknesses for each team. For the Baltimore Ravens, it's kind of nitpicking. No elite pass rushers. They don't have elite pass rushers, and that could hurt them in this game. It could give Baker Mayfield more time. It could open up the playbook for the Browns and allow for some big days for Jarvis Landry or Odell Beckham, or even Kareem Hunt through the air. For the Cleveland Browns, it is obvious. It's been the topic of the whole video. It's going to be the most important matchup. The Browns' run defense has been atrocious. Gave up over 130 yards to Joe Mixon, 4 touchdowns to Kenyon Drake. just atrocious numbers from this Browns run defense since coming back. They gave a Pittsburgh team that struggled to run the ball, did not have James Conner. They gave them lanes to run, so it's been a problem for the Cleveland Browns stopping the run since Myles Garrett got suspended for the rest of the season. And I don't see that problem getting any better because the defensive line has gotten less healthy than they were last week. So for the Cleveland Browns, stopping the run, it's going to be a huge question. Not really a question. It's going to be a question of how bad is it going to be? Is it going to be historically bad? Is it just going to be regular bad? Or is it going to be all right? I don't know if I would bet on historically bad or just all right, but I think it's going to be pretty bad. There's nothing that indicates that it's going to be anything other than bad when it comes to stopping the run. I mean, just look at the success the Cardinals were able to do the handful of times they went to that pistol triple option package that the Ravens love to go to so much. And, barring the Ravens, not running Lamar Jackson at all and, playing really conservative or throwing the ball a million times, the Browns are probably going to be in trouble when it comes to slowing the run game down because they just have not been able to stop any rushing attack, let alone one of the best rushing attacks, not just in the NFL, but in this decade. So that is going to be interesting to see if the Browns can keep up with that and keep that at a manageable level, or if this is going to reach historic proportions. So those are the weaknesses for the game. Let's jump to the next topic. So win criteria is going to be pretty simple this week. There's going to be simple criteria because these are going to be simple goals to reach, and the level of difficulty for these goals to be reached for one team is much higher than it is for the other team. You take your guess on which one that is. But for the Baltimore Ravens to win, they're going to want to stay turnover free, limit the turnovers, get a little bit of an edge rush, get back there, bother Baker Mayfield a little bit. Don't let them get a lot of rhythm in the passing game so they can't keep up. And then for the Ravens, they also have to remember to play their game offensively. And what that means is that sometimes the Baltimore Ravens earlier in the season had a tendency to forget what they're good at and not play to their strengths and throw the ball too much or come out of these sets that they're not great at. I think if the Ravens just remember what they're good at, play their game, and play a clean turnover-free game, they will have an excellent chance at winning this game this week. But for the Cleveland Browns, the Browns are going to need to get turnovers. They're going to need to be able to score points off those turnovers, and they're going to need to be able to score and keep pace with the Baltimore Ravens. I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to score points this week regardless. They're going to get points. They're going to be able to do enough to score points. The Browns have not proven to be a defense that's going to stop anybody, let alone this team. So if you're the Browns, your best bet is to try to match points with them and hope that they throw an interception or you can force a turnover and those kind of things in order to swing momentum in your way and take leads and, kind of win the game that way. And then for the Browns, obviously, to take advantage of the turnovers and to take advantage of matching them with points, you're going to have to stay turnover free. And that is your landing strip for the game for the Cleveland Browns. It's possible they can win this, right? The Browns aren't a terrible team, and they definitely have the talent to be able to keep pace with the Baltimore Ravens. The problem here is the track record. The Browns have not had a track record of showing up in these games. They have not had a track record of being able to play at that level that they should be able to play at given the amount of talent on the roster. So all that kind of combines into, what I think is going to happen this week. I don't think this is going to be the blowout of amazing proportions that some are predicting, but I don't think this is going to necessarily be a close game. I think the score is probably going to be 35-24. I think the Ravens are going to win this one by 9 points. I think ultimately the Browns are going to try to put up a good fight. They're going to be able to put some points up on the board, but they are ultimately not going to be able to slow down what the Ravens can do on offense. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Let me know what your scores and predictions are for this game, and let me know what you're looking forward to once this season is over, because I know we are all slightly looking forward to the season being over if you're a Browns fan. But that's it for this week's video. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Have a good night.